This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, all. Let's start the session. So, before starting our session, let me introduce myself. I'm Anil Kumar. I have 15 years of experience in the IT industry. With the overall 15 years of working in IT industry, the last 5+ years, I'm working in DevOps practices. I was worked in various roles in IT, from software developer, system manager, scrum master, and the project manager. So from those various roles, the background what I have, I got an opportunity to be working with the DevOps practices. So DevOps is a buzzword right now in the market, where every organization and every blog and IT journals are writing in articles on it, and dedicated conferences are conducting on DevOps practices in our industry. So let's see the trends which are happening in the IT industry with the lens of DevOps. So before getting into the DevOps here, let me tell you an example, then we'll be getting in depth of where the DevOps implementation is happening. So long years when I was working as a developer, software developer, the transition used to be last over a weekend, when we used to be deploying our application, that is the software project, into our production service, that is deploying the software, spending the whole weekend, and getting the software out the door, that is out to the production server, deployment, and on Monday, at the same case that nothing is working. So there is a configuration kind of an issues, which is work in the development environment, which is not working in your production environment. These kind of an issues we used to get it. But still, even now, we face a similar kind of an issue still today. So let's talk about the movement that came around called the DevOps. So with the implementation of the DevOps, how we have reduced all the issues which we have faced earlier. Let's get into this. Let me show you here. Yeah. Now here, the development and the operations team people, they are involving in this DevOps implementation. Let me tell you from the scratch that how this DevOps will be working together. Let's see. The DevOps approach, the development and operations people, they are working together. They are working together. They are earlier they worked in isolated places. They never worked together. Now with this DevOps approach, they will work together. They'll understand the issues what they are facing individually when they are working. So with the implementation of this DevOps, adaptation of this DevOps, to get the better collaborative way they can work, to have a better communication, and ultimate goal was to build the trust in them and reduce the friction we see in the hands off between the dev and ops. So this DevOps will reduce the friction which is happening earlier with friction was happening between the development and the operations people. Let us think about here. See here, this is an abstract idea, like abstract idea here, ideation, the idea what the client is getting. You want to be converting that one into an application. So he's approaching a development organization, and the development organization is writing the code for that one. So when they write the code for that one, it will be deploying into your production server. So then when they deploy into the production server, the client expecting that their idea or the application to be get into the productions, get into the market at the earliest, so that the users added the value for that one by using that application. By using that application, the client is getting the real money. So after the users start using that application, they will be getting the feedback. The feedback in the form of might be the bug fixes, okay, and might be enhancements, might be the new features. Okay, when they got the feedback in these forms, in this bug fixes and enhancements and the new features, the developers start working on that one, and again they are going to be deploying the applications into the production server. Deploy the changes, the bug fixes and the enhancements has been done in the already existing code, and the new features they have to be developed. They will they'll write the new code and deploy that one into the production server in a quick time. But this is not as much as easy how it looks now. There are when from the development team, it is going to be deploying into the production server. In between, there are a number of stakeholders are there. Business analysts are there, testing servers, SIT, integration server, delivery manager, release managers. So many stakeholders are there in between. So these are all things it will be getting from one server to the other server, that is different environments that will be maintained. Again, it will be depending upon the organization and the complexity of the projects which you are working. Let me get in depth of this one. So let me show you this. What are the different environments it is going to be working here? Let me show this one as well. Yeah, here the developers developing the code. Okay, developers, they develop the code here. And once they develop the code, they move the code into the source code management. Okay, this is your source code management. In the source code management, we have the different tools are available in the market. The source code management, where the developers save the code, save their code, develop the code. So like we have SVN, Subversion Network, GitHub, Bitbucket, Perforce. It's a commercial one. So many are there here. Okay. Out of this, mostly the widely used one is GitHub nowadays. Okay. Here, when these developers are writing the code, a number of developers are working on application, right? When these developers develops the code and push their code into the source code management, and they are working on different modules again. Okay, they are working, suppose developer 1 is working on module 1, and developer 2 is working on module 2, and developer 3, this one, he's working on module 3. Okay, so when they have pushed the code, when they have check in the code, we can check in the code into the source code management. Here the versions will be maintained here. Okay, the versions will be maintained, and after that it will be deploying into your build server or continuous integration server. Here we got the picture of continuous integration server. Let me call it as continuous integration server. Okay, and in this continuous integration server, we are going to be integrating these modules. Okay, not individual module will be acting as a complete application, right? When we are integrating this module 1, module 2 and module 3, then we'll be getting the complete application. So here what it will do is the continuous integration server, this module 1, and they are integrating the module 2 and the module 3. They're integrating and developing a total application. So this total application is going to be testing here, and here compiling, integrating and generating the executable files. We are going to be using the different build tools here. So earlier we have the Ant, and now we have Maven tool. So Maven tool, we have next one, MS Build, Microsoft Build tool. So these are the different tools are available to build your executable jar files. So when we get this executable jar files, and this executable file we are going to be deploying into the next environment is called your testing environment. Okay, it is deploying into your testing server. So in this testing server, they're going to be test this application. And here, they are going to be maintaining a 2-tier architecture and the 3-tier architecture. Depends upon, again, here, the domain of your project. If it is in a banking domain of a project, mostly we'll be adopting the 3-tier architecture. We'll follow the 3-tier architecture. If it is in a web-only e-commerce applications, we are using 2-tier architectures. We'll be discussing on what is 3-tier and the 2-tier architectures. Let me explain that 2-tier and 3-tier. I'll give introduction. I'll give you so you have an idea on that. So 2-tier architectures, see here, web server plus app server. It will be on the same server itself and the same layer. And here we have the database DB server. Okay, so this one, this is called 2-tier architecture. This is your 2-tier architecture. Whereas 3-tier architecture is separate layer they will be maintained. That means here we have web server. Next we have application server, DB server. Okay, they will be maintained a separate layer here. They'll be maintained a separate layer. Mostly, this 3-tier architecture will be working only for the domain application. That means the banking and financial domains. And whereas web server and the app servers will be kept in the 2-tier architecture in the same server, and the DB servers always it is maintained the separate layer. Okay. So these are the differences between the 2-tier and the 3-tier architectures. So here, and that's when the testing server, if suppose your application is on 2-tier architecture, then here they will be working. There the 2 layers are there: web layer, okay, web layer, as well as your DB layer is there. Okay, 2-tier architecture. After testing the application here, then they will be having the SIT server or system integration server. Okay, system integration server, SIT. Okay, integration server. So here what they will maintain here is system integration server. They will test the load balancing. There are different layers are available here again. So 5 layers are there. That means load balancing, web layers, caching layers, and the DB layers. Okay, so they will be handling the more number of, because they are going to be testing the application performance when more number of users are accessing that application at the same time, how the application is responding. So they are going to be testing here with the different layers here, going with the load balancing, conducting here load balancing. Okay, and next one here, web layer. Okay, web layer. Next, caching, app layer. Next, we have the DB layer. So they are going to be test here. The number of systems will be increased, and at a time, the number of users, if they are accessing the application, how the application is getting tested. Once this testing has been completed and successfully, then it will be moving to your UAT testing, and many other kinds of testing will be conducting here. So next one, it will be getting into your staging server, staging or the pre-production, staging or pre-prod, staging or pre-production server. So here they'll be conducting the UAT testing as well. They will send the link to your customer, your client, and asking him your application to be getting it tested. So when the users from your client side, when they are testing your application, if it matches the requirements as per they have given the requirements to you people to be developed before the requirement gathering. So if it is matches with the same, then they will send a confirmation that the application is working as per our requirement. When the project manager is receiving the confirmation mail from your UAT, Then he will start processing of implementation of your application into the production servers. Okay, so he is going to be deploying that one into your, start the process of application deployment into your production service. Okay, fine. Now what happened here is, these are all things earlier we used to do manually. That means getting the code from your GitHub repository and integrating here and build the jar files using the Maven and the other build tools, generating the executable files, deploying into the testing server and deploying into the SIT staging server and other environments. These are all manually we used to do. That is why earlier we used to developing the projects taking over the years and years. It's taking a lot of time. But now we are living in an era of automation. So this manual process doesn't work now. If you are observing the Paytm applications or any application, any web application or the mobile application, if we are using, very frequently the new features are upgrading. That is new patch, the new patch is upgrading once in a month. That is, if you can observe Paytm or Flipkart, any e-commerce applications, if you can observe, a new feature is every month it is upgrading. That much of competency is there in the market. Because always the client should be more competitive and more innovative to capture the users, and whatever the existing users have there, he has to intact them. We should not be moving to the, we should not allow the user to be moving to the other application. It should not be relaxed all the time. He should want to give the better and better services to the customer. So how to do all these things in the back end? This is an old approach, but manually fetching the code from your source code management, deploying into your CI servers, and deploying into the testing server, SIT, and other environments in your organization. This is manually. Earlier we have done this. Doesn't work now. So that is why this DevOps implementation is playing a vital role nowadays. DevOps is not a technology, guys. DevOps is not a technology. DevOps is not a language like Java. DevOps is a mindset. DevOps is a philosophy. It's a process improvement. What can we do to improvise the process to give the better and better services to your customer, to the end users? If your services are not good, you will be out of the market. For example, earlier we have an Orkut, the social website. Before Facebook, we have the Orkut. But now Orkut is nowhere in the market now. Why? Because the services are not there. It is still approaching the old process. So that is why it is overcome by your Facebook. The Facebook is also a same social website. It is took them in. It is better and better services provided by your Facebook. And the Facebook is capture the market and beating the Orkut. But Orkut is nowhere in the market right now. So that is why if you want to capture your market, intact your, grabbing the largest section of the users, you have to give the better and better services to the users. Then only you can be sustained in the market. That is why this much of huge requirement is there, and the clients also looking for the DevOps implementation, DevOps skill set, resources to be there in the development organization before they are giving the projects to the development organization. So here, everything here manually we have done, but now everything should be automated. We have to make all this process, whatever the process I have shown you just now, this all process, that is fetching the code from your source code management, integration, deploying into the testing server, deploying into the SIT, deploying into pre-prod, into the production server, this all should be automated. How we are going to do this one automation? By implementing the different automation tools at the different phases of the life cycle of a DevOps. Now see here, continuous integration server. So here we are implementing the DevOps Jenkins server here. Okay, Jenkins is an open source now. Jenkins server we are using here. So Jenkins, in Jenkins server we have going to be configuring the jobs, Okay, and it consisting of around 2,500 plus plugins are available. And with this 2,500 plugins, and we can use the Maven as well, Maven MS Build and other plugins also there. And with the use of Maven and other plugins, it will be executing generating the executable files like jar files, war files, and EAR files. Okay, so here what it will do is the way how we are going to be configuring the job in the Jenkins server at the regular periodic intervals of time, it will be automatically connecting. So it will be automatically connecting to your source code management, and it fetches the latest code. Okay, it fetch the latest code. It fetches the latest code from the GitHub server. So here we are going to be configuring regular intervals, regular periodic intervals of time. Suppose in our office we have configured that one for 3 hours, but 3 hours is not a standard one. It depends upon your organization policy that this periodic intervals of time will be different. Few organizations, they will maintain the 3.5 or 4 hours or 4.5 hours. So within these 3 hours, if any of your developer has pushed any code here, okay, if he has pushed any code here, so that latest file will be pulled into your Jenkins server. This latest code will be pulled into this Jenkins server, and here it is going to be compile, integrate, and test your application. And here if it is application is getting tested, then it will be deploying into your testing server. Okay, so here JUnit testing will be conducting within this Maven. Okay, so once this application has generated this jar file is going to be deploying into your testing server. So when it is deploying into your testing server, so here they are using the testing on QA people, they are using the Selenium tool to test your application. Once the application is getting tested, so then it will be deploying into a SIT, and then it will be deploying into your pre-production, and after that it will be deploying into your production server. And here when it is deploying from one server to the another server, they used to be sending some artifacts. Okay, artifacts we are saying. So what is mean by artifacts? See here, it is sending your code, they're calling it as code, configuration, and environment. What kind of environment, what kind of a port number? Suppose in the development environment, the Tomcat server is running on the port number 80 and 80, and in the testing server as well, it should be running on the port number should run on the 8080 port number. So suppose the versions also, suppose in the development, the Tomcat server 8.5 has been installed, and in the testing server, if Tomcat server is 7.9, if it has been installed. So there might be a problem, might be issues. That means if there is no consistency in the versions, what happens? The application performance might be getting different. So to avoid that kind of a thing, we should be maintaining the consistency in all these servers when we are working with it. So these are all things will be taken care by this artifacts when we are supplying from one environment to the other environment when we are deploying our jar files or application. Fine. So here there are different tools we are using. We are making this one completely automated. So what kind of a tools we are using here? Let me show you this. Now here, source code management, we are using here GitHub. Right guys, here we are using the GitHub. There is one source code one automation tool we are using. Next one we are using here Jenkins server. Okay, this is Jenkins server, continuous integration server. There are other tools also there guys, the continuous integration server, that is Delboomi, Travis CI, Bamboo, like many are there. Okay, out of this one, Jenkins server is an open source and it's developed on the Java. It's a platform independent. So that is why it becomes a widely used one, the continuous integration server in all the organizations globally. Next one, here we are using Selenium. Okay, here we are using Selenium tool. And next one, a load balancer we are using here to improvise, because n number of systems we are going to be checking your application. So we are using Vagrant tool. And in the production server, in this pre-production server, we are using the configuration configuration. Application will be deployed into the n number of servers. Okay, so here we are using the configuration management tools like Chef, Ansible, and Puppet. Okay, we are using this one. And deployment of your application to the production servers, we are using here Docker. And nowadays Kubernetes we are using. Kubernetes, we are also calling this one as K8s. We are also calling this one as K8s. So here, with the cluster concept, we are going to be deploying your application into your production server without any issue within reducing the risk of your outages. So this is how we are making implementation of the different automation tools and improvises the process. With this implementation of the process, what happens here is we are deploying your application and sending the release cycles to the client at very frequently. Earlier, before DevOps implementation, we used to be sending the release cycles to the client. Once in 4 months or 6 months. That is why in those days we used to be developing it is taking a long time to be developing the application, delivering the application to the client. But now it's not like that. We are sending release cycles to the client once in 2 weeks or 4 weeks of time. So he can able to see the output of the application which he's going to be launching in the next month. Okay, so this is how implementation of the different automation tools at the different stages we are implementing and testing your application. Let us think about your developer. He's developing the testing the application here with one system. Okay, here he is using, might be he's testing the application at his unit testing will be conducting in only laptop using 1 or 2 systems, right? Not more than that. And here and the continuous integration server and the testing server, it is going to be integrating, and here testing that application is taking around 5 systems. Okay, and here he's going to be testing the application on 10 systems. We can say 10 systems, or VMs also we can call it. It's the right terminology. And here load balancer, here we are going to be testing the VMs like on 30 VMs here, and in the staging we are testing around 50 VMs to test your application performance when more number of the application is launched in the 50 VMs, how the application is performing when application is running at a time on the 50 VMs. So in the real time, getting into your more than 200 plus systems, we are going to be testing. So this is how we are going to be making our process automated. So what we have achieved with this process is, earlier we used to be done all these activities in our project application development and deployment. It is taking manually, we used to be done. But here, avoiding this manual intervention, we are completely connecting to your getting the code from your source code management at regular intervals of time using the continuous integration server like Jenkins. And after that, it is the use of Maven plugins. It will be deploying, it will be fetching the code, compile it, integrate it, and generating the executable jar and war file and deploying into the testing server automatically. Okay, we used to be writing the script here. Okay, Jenkins file. And with this implementation, it is directly deploying into your testing server, and the testing server, the Selenium, the QA people going to be test that application using the Selenium tool. And after that, it will be deploying into the SIT server using the Vagrant tool. We are going to be deploying deploying and using this background, we can virtually creating the n number of systems and deploying this application and testing that application. When more by implementing the more load balance on that systems, on those VMs, we test the performance of their application. Earlier, we should have, when a physical systems 30 VMs means we should have the 30 physical laptops, so the desktop should have. But here it is not like that. If you have the good configuration, have a good memory, RAM memory is there, and if you have the good hardware is there, then you can virtual systems 30 VMs we can creating in your using your VMware and hypervisor softwares and Oracle VirtualBox we have. In that VMs we are creating and installing that application and test that application. Like that, we are implementing in the number of systems. If you want to implement in the deploying the application into the number of systems, we are using the configuration management tools like Chef, Ansible, and the Puppet. Suppose your organization is having your own data center consisting of around 100 servers are there. If you want to deploy your developed application into those 100 servers, it is very tedious job. Manually, if you want to deploy into each and every server, it is taking a lot of time and it's a tedious job to do. But when we are deploying that application using the Chef, Ansible, and Puppet, writing the infrastructure code, it is taking only less than 5 or 10 minutes to deploy your application, not only in 100 or 200 servers. It will be taking you can deploy that application into 1,000 servers also. It will be taking not more than 5 or 10 minutes. So it depends upon the bandwidth you can deploy that application, which makes your work easier. So this kind of an approach where we can developing your application and deploying your application at a much faster pace, as quick as possible. You are developing you are getting the client idea into the market, and the end users start using that application. So that is what now in the automation era every client is looking at. Every client is looking at. That is why a more number of resources, DevOps resources, are required in the market, and the organization also looking for the DevOps skill set person. Guys, one, I can make sure that to get into the DevOps, it is not necessary that you should you are going to be a good programmer or you should have the more programming skills like that. No. See here in this one, I can say that we have only 30% of, we require only 30% of the coding part, because the scripting part only you are going to be used. The scripting languages means you are using shell scripting. We are using the other name of shell scripting is bash scripting, and while writing the cookbooks we are using Python, YAML scripting, and Ruby scripting. If you know these things, you are eligible to be get into the DevOps role. So who can get into this DevOps is who can become the DevOps engineers. The persons who are having this background, they can easily get into this DevOps role. See here, guys. But one more thing is you should have the basic concepts of networking concepts should have, and the Linux. Linux is mandatory, guys. Nowadays, the Linux, without Linux, there is no jobs at all. Because in internet, 85% of the internet servers are running on the Linux. So it's time to be getting into the Linux stream, guys. If you are working on the Windows, now it's time to be transforming yourself into your Linux. You have to learn this Linux. There is no look back. If you want to sustain in the IT industry, you have to learn this Linux. There is no look back, guys. And after that, the middleware administrators, these people also can get into this DevOps role. They can transform from their existing role into DevOps role. So WebLogic admins and database administrators like IBM DB2 and MS SQL person, Oracle DBA person, system administrators like Red Hat, Ubuntu, Solaris admin, and Citrix administrators, VMware. So build and release engineers already they are using from 2004 onwards. They are using this Jenkins. So they are already 70% DevOps engineers, guys. And developers and freshers. But freshers, they'll have a little chances to be getting into the DevOps because only 10% to 15% they have the chances to be for the freshers to be getting into the DevOps role. Because few organizations, they will be recruiting the persons they're recruiting the freshers also. They will give the training, but in such cases only you are going to be getting this freshers. For the freshers, they are going to be getting. For the developers, mostly they are not interested to be getting into this DevOps role. Only the person who are passionate about towards the deployment of your application, towards the maintenance of your infrastructure. So those people, they can transforming themselves from the development environment, because the developers who are having the 2 years or 3 years of experience, they are interested to be getting into the DevOps. Why? Because the Java developers nowadays, see what happened, even though they are having around 9 or 10 years of experience, they're not getting the good packages. There are 10 or 11 lakhs packages they're getting. But when you have DevOps engineer role, DevOps manager, if you have become, so what happens is you'll be getting the package. There is no limit, guys. Even if you have the couple of years, 2 years or 3 years of experience, you'll be the DevOps engineer is getting the package around 10 to 15 lakhs of package. Think about if you have the 5 years of real-time experience, if you are having, you'll be getting the package more than 30 lakhs package. I'm talking about in India, and that too in Hyderabad. Okay, so this kind of an opportunities outside are there, good packages are there. So for the, as per, I can give you the guarantee that for the next 8 to 10 years, there is no look back for these three methodologies. Like, one is cloud computing, whether it is an AWS or a stack, OpenStack or Azure, Google Private Cloud, or next one is your DevOps, and next one is data science. So these three methodologies are ruling the market for the next 8 to 10 years. So if you want to change your current role to transforming from your current role to some next level role, you have to learn these DevOps tools, guys. In the real time, you might be asking the question like, sir, if I want to, these many tools we have to be learned. No, you have to learn. You should have the idea. But thing is, in the real time, you are going to be working only on one or maximum two tools, not more than that. Either you're working on the Jenkins with GitHub, or you're working on the Chef, or you're working on the Ansible, or you're working on the Docker or the Kubernetes. So either of the two. So if you want to get into the market, so Kubernetes is having a hotcake in the market. If you have that skill set, that will grab you. And Jenkins, initially, if you are having the 2+ years, if you're 2 to 3 years of experience, initially you are going to be working only on the Jenkins. Once you are comfortable and understanding overall the infrastructure in your organization, then you will be getting into there. Slowly they can give an access to work with your bigger servers, like in working with the data centers, internal data centers, what we have. So you are allowed to be working in Chef, Ansible, and the Docker. But if you 2 to 3 years of experience, you just focus more on Jenkins, you'll be easily grab your job. And in this one, 70% the configuration part will be their administration part, and 30% will be your coding part. See, as all you people might come across, you have completed your BTech or BE, right, or MBA, something like that. So you can easily learn this scripting language. I can teach you from the basics, because I have an experience of teaching the guys who are already working professionals, and those people who are coming from the non-technical background also. They have trained under me. Now they are working as a DevOps engineers in some good MNC companies. Okay, that is why no need to be worried about that one. So I'll take care of it. I'll make sure that after completion of my course, I'll make sure that you'll be your confidence will be boosted up and you can face an interview confidently. And for each and every tool, I'm going to be teach you from the basics, giving you the notes, as well as the video sessions also. I'm going to be sharing with you. And for every tool, I'm going to be giving you the interview questions relevant to the tool. So by the time you have completed the course, you'll be ready with the 30 to 40 questions, which is asking in the market. So that boost up your confidence. Okay, and this mainly these persons, they can be getting into your administration role, that is getting into the DevOps engineer role, right, guys? And regarding the certifications, I will explain you once our course has been started, and I'm going to be teaching you. Let me show you here. in our course, I'm going to be cover you from the, what are the topics I'm going to be cover you, I'll let you know. So here in the project management, I'm going to teach you SDLC. Okay. I'm going to teach you SDLC, then I'm going to teach you the agile process. Okay, so you should know what are the pros and cons in this, and how we have what is the purpose of learning the DevOps, we should know. So that is why initially I'm going to teach you this project management. After that, the Linux, and then I'm going to teach you the shell scripting. Then we have Git and GitHub. Then I'm going to teach you the Maven tool. Next, I'm going to teach you Tomcat. Okay, Tomcat server. Next, I'm going to teach you the Jenkins server. Next time have Chef, Ansible, Vagrant, and what we have, yes, Docker. Next we have Kubernetes. Kubernetes overview I can give, Kubernetes or K8s we are calling it as. So this is these are things we are going to be, I'm going to be covered in my curriculum now. Okay, in my curriculum I'm going to teach you all these things from the basics, guys. From the basics to the intermediate level, I'm going to teach you by taking the real-time use cases, so that you will be, by the end of this course, you'll be having hands-on experience along with this one. So it will be useful for you. So whatever the issues, the real-time issues are there, I'll take those issues and I'm going to teach you along with these cases. I hope I have completed the demonstration of the demonstration of the DevOps today. And if you have any queries, let me know.